Hello, good evening, good morning, everyone. This is Amy. Um, Happy Sagittarius. We are winding down um, our last sign for the year, our second to last sign. We have Capricorn, and then we move into the new year and welcome in a bit of Capricorn with Aquarius. But this video here is a series that I will be doing to introduce the planetary influences, their sign that is enhanced by that planet, talking a little bit about the house influence as well for that sign. And as equally as important, also the major arcana card that influences this particular astrological sign. So we have here for Sagittarius, which starts today, November 21st, and it goes all the way to December 20th. And then from December 21st, we enter the sign of Capricorn. We enter the winter solstice, and for the witch's Sabbath, for the wheel of the year, on that day of the 21st of December is Yule. So that'll be separate videos for those signs and to bring in that Sabbath of Yule. But I want to focus here with the fiery, mutable energy of Sagittarius and its meaning. And the planet of influence for Sagittarius is Jupiter. And also the house that Sagittarius holds influence in is the ninth house, which is all about travel, long distance travel, um, education, but more at a larger perspective, and also dealing with spiritual enhancement, looking beyond what people normally see. And the cards of influence for Sagittarius, I'll show you all these cards, is for Temperance. It's related to the sign of Sagittarius. I will talk briefly about that. And also for Jupiter, it's the Wheel of Fortune. Now, the Wheel of Fortune also plays influence for the sign of Pisces. So you will see the Wheel of Fortune, because it is associated with Jupiter, when I get to that discussion about the planetary influences and the signs or the elements and the cards associated with Pisces, but that's later on, just to give you a little bit of information. So for Sagittarius, this is from the Heavenly Bodies Astrology deck, which I do enjoy working with because it's very simple, very basic when it comes to merging my tarot practice with astrology. So here for Sagittarius, we have here optimism, expansion, and also open-mindedness, freedom. Now, Aquarius is also associated with being more liberated and taking things in their own perspective. But that's a fixed sign. Sagittarius is mutable. So with Sagittarius and its element of influence of fire, Sagittarius takes that energy, which is influenced very strongly by Jupiter, which is the largest planet in our solar system, and that large, expansive energy, a large planet which holds a lot of energy, and it is a fire-oriented planet, means it's always expanding, it's always moving, it's always shifting. It's growing and it's changing its shape. So with Sagittarius, using that Jupiter influence, Jupiter is also affiliated with luck and abundance. Sagittarius is seen as one of the more optimistic, if not the optimistic sign of all the 12 zodiac signs. And it's because of that Jupiter influence of abundance and growth. You need to have that kind of energy if you want to remain in a more positive light, more open-minded towards things. If you have the opposing sign, which comes before Jupiter, which is Saturn, Saturn's contracting. So it tends to be more, I don't want to say narrow-minded energy, but it puts limitations. Sagittarius, or I'm sorry, Saturn is related to time. So everything's limit, uh, on a limited schedule. Everything is, everything has to be done within a certain amount of time, while Sagittarius is quite the opposite. It doesn't like restrictions. Sagittarius, as I mentioned earlier, involves exploration, adventure. And I feel the best way to associate Sagittarius is, for me, in relation to the tarot, it is about self-exploration, learning, seeing what's beyond what we normally see, um, taking chances, taking risks, um, and whatever experience happens is something that can be gained from the sign of Sagittarius. It rules the ninth house. So the ninth house does deal with primarily spiritual knowledge, growth, understanding. Sagittarius sees things, but they want to know, as I mentioned, they want to know a little bit more about what's going on, um, what makes this person, what makes this certain environment what it is. It wants to understand, and it takes more of a philosophical approach towards things. So if you meet someone who is a Sagittarius, they tend to be thinking more on the outside of things as opposed to um, what's going on right at this moment. Sagittarius is aware of what's happening, but they see outside of it. They see more of what's going on around it. Um, and so with that ninth house, Sagittarius does good where it's moving. It likes to be in different environments. It cannot be in a stagnant place. Again, because of its mutability, the characteristics of a mutable sign such as Sagittarius, and its opposing sign, which is Gemini, an air sign, which is also mutable, is that there's some flexibility. So they can adapt in certain environments, and sometimes for Sagittarius, that works for them. They like changes. They don't like to be in an area for too long. So they like to be stimulated and explore different places. One minute they could be in a lovely, comfortable uh, environment with everything that they need, and then maybe a few weeks later, they're traveling on the road with just a backpack and sleeping in a tent, and that does them just as well. So Sagittarius likes that. They like that living on the edge because it gives them a challenge, and that challenge is for themselves. Because when you put yourself in a different environment, um, step out of your comfort zone, you you learn a little bit about yourself. You learn how you can adapt, what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are, and those aspects of who we are that are weakened in certain situations, you're aware of it. And it's something that you can work with when coming into another situation. This applies for relationships. This applies for work, all these different environments that we're in. So Sagittarius likes to keeps keep things on edge. It keeps the mind moving. And what's interesting is, even though Sagittarius is active in the mindset, they take something different that Mercury has with that influence. Mercury influences the signs of Virgo and Gemini. So Gemini and Virgo, they're like Virgo's more practical with their thoughts, and they look at things and just take what they need to make it work in their benefit to get the results that they need. Gemini is communication, so they like their stimulation comes from the mind, and it comes through conversation and engaging with someone who has a similar interest. It's mutable, so someone who is open-minded in the sense of having previous experience of being in different places and sharing that experience, but more or less, exchanging what they've learned from it. Sagittarius takes the experience of where they are, and it influences them. It becomes something that they learn from. And that's how they communicate with themselves. They learn from the experiences of where they are. If it's a bad experience, then they learn what to take from it and move on. That's what I was saying about weaknesses and strengths that really change the way that Sagittarius interacts with themselves and how they communicate with themselves. So the signs of influence, or the major arcana cards of influence I mentioned for Jupiter, which is, again, the planet of influence for Sagittarius, is the Wheel of Fortune. This is from the Pagan Otherworlds deck. So the Wheel of Fortune, as I mentioned, because it is influenced by the planet Jupiter, and it holds Jupiter holds prominence with this card in the sign of Pisces. But the Wheel of Fortune here is just that. It's taking karmic experiences, things from our past, learning from them, and turning it around so that we benefit from what we've learned from that situation. That's where the growth comes in with Sagittarius. That's where that positive, optimistic, I'm going to work through this, nothing's going to stop me kind of attitude with Sagittarius. They keep going. They have an inner belief and faith that seems to be strong with Sagittarius. So if they find something that they feel motivates them and inspires them, they're going to stick to it because that's their fuel, that's their inspiration. So learning from anything from the past, applying it to who they are now, and putting it into, into their goals and into their prospects, makes Sagittarius that very promising perspective that they have, and that belief. But very important is, during this journey for Sagittarius, they need to have that space. They don't get stuck in one thing. They may find something that really motivates them. Let's say it's the tarot, and then what happens is, or it's a book that they read that just really, puts a profound effect on them. What's going to happen is they're going to want to learn more. They don't read the book and then just put it down, go, wow, that's interesting. It moves them. They want to learn more. They want to have it become something that influences them. It becomes a part of them. That's what's important with Sagittarius. It has to have that strength. It has to have that sticktivity for Sagittarius. That's like, yes, this makes sense, and I understand this, and I could take it in this direction. So with this Wheel of Fortune card and with Sagittarius, okay, we have here the arrow that we see, the archer that's associated with Sagittarius. Sagittarius is like a centaur, half animal and half human. The upper body is human, the lower part is animal. So the upper part is the human conscious connection that Sagittarius has, okay? The lower part with the animal, we sometimes see like the lower part of maybe a horse. That's the movement, that's the action that moves them. It's the lower body. The lower body is the subconscious. So once Sagittarius puts their aim, they discover through travels, through what they're reading, any sources of information that they get that motivates them. They pull that arrow and they're like, this is where I want to be. And they shoot it, they release that energy, and they just go with it. The other card that comes in of influence, that's what excites Sagittarius. The other card that comes in, this is the card that I feel is what's needed to stabilize a sign such as Sagittarius. And what that is the card of Temperance. This is the card in the major arcana that is assigned to the sign of Sagittarius. Okay, so the Wheel of Fortune is the planetary influence, like I mentioned. This is also associated with Jupiter, or with Pisces. But Temperance here is important for Sagittarius because even though they're mutable and they're very expansive, they need to create a nice harmonic direction and how they work with their energy, where they're going. Okay, Temperance allows a sense of direction. Once you've seen where you want to go, once you've experienced what you're starting to learn and to understand, what you do is now you start putting it into perspective, okay? It's where you want to be. Now, where do you go with it? Where do you take it to the next level, okay? And Temperance is the balance of opposite energy. The opposing energy is your energy that comes naturally to Sagittarius, that open-mindedness and just, yeah, let's go ahead and do this. But now putting the other energy of putting it into a bit more of a perspective. It's almost Saturnian in a sense. We're not putting limits, but we need to make sure we have a direction we're going. Sagittarius can be the optimistic, open-minded adventurer, but they should have a direction. They need to put things into a perspective so that, again, where they want to be with the experience that they're going through, will put them and keep them on their path, will keep them on their target. And the interesting thing with Sagittarius is there won't be an ending, or there will be at some point, but what happens is once they feel like they've gotten to some point, it's time for Sagittarius to start thinking, wow, I feel like I'm getting to where I'm culminating with what I'm experiencing. Now it's time to start thinking about the next direction. So that's what I'm saying. Sagittarius will always be expanding. They may seem like they're never coming to an end because they're constantly going, but there is a beginning and an end to everything. Sometimes, depending on the signs, it's very concrete, it's clear, it's cut, the project is done, everything is wrapped up, and that's it. For Sagittarius, they want to keep growing. They want to take what they're learning and take it to another level. Now, one thing that Sagittarius should understand is that you may be going into the next level, but it may take you into a different direction, okay? And I think that's pleasing for Sagittarius because it's still allowing their characteristics of wanting to know more to be there for them. So the constant wanting to learn, wanting to know, basing it from one experience, past experience, good karma, bad karma, and taking it to the next. I feel if you speak to a Sagittarian um, who has explored so many different aspects of through travels, through education, Sagittarius will never be short of telling you stories, sharing you experiences, because it means that much to them. It's influenced them that much. So that's what I'm saying. Sagittarius can have a philosophical approach towards things, because um, when you take an experience, you get it from the external realm, you smell, taste, and whatnot. But then it starts moving inward and starts affecting you emotionally, and starts affecting you spiritually. And it's starting to change you. Your perspective on what you experience becomes profound, and it becomes a part of you. So with Sagittarius, any experience that they have, I almost want to say stays with them, because it's something that was needed to have happen. They needed to have that experience. And I won't say you'll hear a Sagittarian whine or cry about a bad experience. It, it may it may slow down their process. They may not be happy. They may have to take a moment, but as long as they move forward, okay, that fiery energy, as long as they keep moving forward, moving beyond what they've experienced, not ignoring it, but understanding what's happened and learn from it, you move on. So one thing with Sagittarius, as I mentioned earlier, they do not want to be stuck. They need to find, I don't want to say distraction. That's part of it, but you also have to be careful with Sagittarius that because of that Jupiter influence, is too much, is excessive. Are you delving too much into something? Is it taking you in a way where maybe it's becoming a little bit more obsessive, and you're not really paying attention to some of the other responsibilities? That's where temperance comes in. Okay, so temperance can come in and quell some of the overwhelming aspects of the energy that you could be experiencing, and that could be taking you away, whether you're aware of it or not, from where you need to be. So remember, with temperance, we're trying to stay on a direction, but keep moving forward. Try to keep focus with that. And again, with the ninth house here for spiritual growth, that's the key for that house and any of the other planets that or signs that fall into that ninth house, and also the planets, depending on the degrees and the relationship they have with other signs. So the ninth house overall deals with how signs and planets um, work with education, learning, attaining knowledge, how you use it, or where it could be a weakness for you and where you may need to work more on understanding things a little bit more. Ask questions. It's always good to ask questions. That's how you learn. That's how you grow. That's how you get knowledge. And that's where the wisdom comes in, the more that you experience things. So that's what we have here for the sign of Sagittarius, with that powerful planet of Jupiter. And again, I remember Jupiter is a large planet. So when you have that influence of Jupiter and any of these signs, again, depending on the degree and where it is on your chart, we have to be careful for excesses. Okay, too much of this, too much of giving of yourself, or too much of taking from people. Okay. And in those actions, that's where the Wheel of Fortune comes in. There could be a building up of karma, okay? Karma that could end up going against you. And you will probably see at some point during your life where that buildup of past actions may have not worked so much in your favor. So we have to embrace this card for the month of Sagittarius, of Temperance, to just let's hold back with this energy, not to be too excessive with it, and create a nice harmony between what we're experiencing externally and how we're taking it in internally. Okay, so remember, Sagittarius is all about understanding and being that adventurer, being optimistic, but also being real about what's going on. So what I like to do, and I'll mention this in future videos, is if you have your sun in Sagittarius, you could take what I've said and apply it to your character, your actions, how you interact with yourself and how you interact with people and relationships, work, so on and so forth. And for the month of Sagittarius that we're starting, if you don't have any signs, like myself, I have no Sagittarius in my chart. What I like to do is, and this is an exercise for those who maybe have some Sagittarius or no Sagittarius, start embracing these characteristics. Start being a little bit more positive towards things. See things differently. Shift your perspective on things. Things are hard right now, and they're becoming challenging for a lot of people. How about changing that perspective in a way? It's like, yes, things are challenging, things are kind of hard, but you know what? What can I do to change that around? That's something to ask yourself for the month of Sagittarius. How can I change that perspective and make it so it's not so heavy and weighted down, but more where it's a little bit lighter, and that you have this way of seeing things that you can alleviate that heaviness and move forward. Look at different things. Challenge yourself. That's what Sagittarius, for the most part, is. They like to explore something new. Challenge yourself and see what you can learn about yourself and grow with that. So again, the month of Sagittarius is November 21st to December 20th. If you can give yourself during that astrological month of Sagittarius, look at those qualities, explore, do something different. We're heading towards the end of the year. We had Samhain. For many of us, the new year was at Samhain, but for many people, the new year starts in January. And this is a wonderful time as we're transitioning towards the end of the year and end of a season, starting into a new season for Yule. This is a time to start. Let's start making changes. Okay, let's start preparing. I'm jumping ahead. Let's start thinking ahead for spring, which will take place in March. I know we're not quite at winter yet, but winter season is this time to actually start planning. It's a time to start looking where we want to be. What do we want to do? How are we going to utilize it? So those are some thoughts to think about, and how we can change that. But do it from a place where you can see something about yourself that you were never aware of. Okay, and that comes by exploring, going out, going into a different environment, changing your way of doing things, your actions, your behavior. And then you'll be surprised and you'll start seeing these shifts if you're open to it. Okay, remember, you have to be open to these changes to allow change to come within yourself. Okay, and believe that these these experiences that you're having, exploration, so on and so forth, believe that these will lead you into something greater, a bigger picture of who you are, a better, larger you. Okay, remember Jupiter. Look at how big this planet is. Growth and expansion. Those are the words to take in for the month of the astrological month of Sagittarius. So, on that note, on that positive note, leave any comments. I'd like to know how you approach if you are Sagittarius. Happy birthday to all the Sagittariuses out there. Let me know how you feel if you have Sagittarius in your chart. What are some of the challenges that you feel that you have to work through? What are some of the great things that you feel about having that Sagittarian influence? Let me know in the comments. And also, I have on my website, everything's in the description. I'm having a discount on my readings. I'm going to probably extend this, but on all my readings, I have 15% going on for all my readings. All you have to do is just make mention. It's the Mystic Rose Tarot 15%. Just let me know when you're interested to do a reading with me. Apply that discount. It goes to November 28th, which is a Sunday. So it's that weekend, that Thanksgiving Day weekend. On Sunday, 11:59 Pacific Standard Time. So if you want to book a reading between now and then, let me know. Also, I don't have any gift cards, but if you want to gift a reading to someone, of course, feel free to do that. Just let me know if that's what you like to do. If you want to gift a reading for someone, just let me know and we can make arrangements for that. So just that little blurb to keep people interested for having me do readings, and I have a whole menu of different readings that I can do for you. Also, end of the year readings, wheel of the year readings. I will be doing more of as we enter our last 6 weeks, 6 weeks until the end of the year. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching this. Again, let me know how you feel about this Sagittarius energy ruled by Jupiter. And again, the major arcana cards that are associated with Sagittarius and Jupiter and that we can apply for this month of Sagittarius is the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so remember karma, past actions, but also moving from those experiences and learning and expanding from that, growing from that. And Temperance. Okay, so balancing this fiery energy and putting it in a place where we're heading towards where we want to be, where we're being drawn to, but not becoming too overwhelmed. Okay, so we're balancing these different forces of what we're experiencing externally and also internally. And that's where temperance comes in. All righty. I will see you all soon. I have readings coming up for all the elemental influence signs for the month of Sagittarius. So those will be coming up within today and the next few days. Okay, so thank you again. I look forward to being here virtually with you again. Okay, any questions, of course, feel free to let me know.